It's important in this regard, after having issued a release on my recent trip to Oslo, Norway, to mention that last week, the Women in Parliament Caucus, so the official committee of Parliament, that is a committee of all of the female parliamentarians, have met in its new constellation. In other words, the female members of Parliament currently. And after introducing this committee and the establishment of this committee to especially the new members in Parliament, and a discussion about some of the priorities facing St. Martin, facing the Parliament, and women and girls in particular, it was decided that one of the focuses of the Women in Parliament caucus will be healthcare. And so this agreement amongst the female parliamentarians about the issue of healthcare as a priority fits nicely into the amendment that was proposed and accepted when Parliament was handling the budget 2024, namely to expand and structure the screening, the health screenings on St. Martin. Like I did in the meeting of Parliament, when I introduced this amendment, I want to really applaud those organizations that over the years have been adamant about providing awareness as well as screening for especially cancer and different forms of cancer on St. Martin. I want to list, for example, albeit not exhaustively, but definitely worthy of mention, are the Positive Foundation, Electrolyte Foundation, the SMMC, our own CPS of the Ministry of VSA, as well as the AUC. Also, the Heart and Stroke Foundation. These are but several of the organizations who understand and promote awareness regarding illnesses on St. Martin, predominant illnesses on St. Martin. When I submitted the amendment to Parliament for a small fund in order to make it possible for us to pursue this matter of preventive health screening, I had done so after having preliminary discussions with the Prevention Foundation on Curacao, Fundación para Prevención. And this particular organization on Curacao, that is a forerunner, not forerunner, but they are ahead of the entire matter of health screening. They are the ones coordinating health screening on Curacao and have been in existence since the year 2008. So, together with that amendment that was agreed by all members of Parliament, as well as the focus of the women in Parliament, I believe that as a Parliament, we can do our part in terms of pushing for health care for all on St. Martin and preventive health care as being an important part of the overall health care on St. Martin. And I say this to give an example of what I believe that in my capacity as President of Parliament at this time is a good opportunity for Parliament on its own to decide on some of the priorities that together as a Parliament we would like to push forward, we would like to initiate and make sure that these items, these priorities get moving. And that Parliament, the entire Parliament, would be committed to what I want to term our own legislative agenda. This legislative agenda, which will include, as I mentioned, the priorities that as a Parliament I hope I can get to establish, will then be sought out, researched, and follow up on by Parliament. So I'm quite excited about the direction that this particular approach is taken, and I know, having received initial feedback from all, that it is something that this Parliament will make happen, and something that, as President of Parliament, I will continue to push forward. In that same light, many have been the discussions about the associations of Parliament, especially a current association, and that is with Parlatino. And many have been the discussions that I'm sure you, as members of the media, have also been following regarding where can Parliament, in this context, get the best bang for the buck, for our money, for our payments. So we have been, as a Parliament, looking into different possibilities as the debate regarding Parlatino and attendance at Parlatino continues. And we have been in contact with and have received initial reaction from another organization that is of parliamentarians and parliaments in let us call it, in the Americas, so to speak, and that is the Parlamericans. Parlamericans, an association, one of the important parts of items of this association is that the language is in English. The language is English, and as such, we have received recently an invitation to attend the National Congress of this organization. And while it is short time, we are looking as to how Parliament can at least send a few of the members of Parliament of St. Martin to get a better feel of how this organization could potentially meet the needs of Parliament as we have them. What are those needs when we talk about other organizations? Networking is important. Being able to share information, hear from other parliaments, and just be part of the process of moving forward as different countries. So I'm quite excited about that part as well, as we continue, as I mentioned, to explore the possibilities of joining associations that would have added value and would yield a return on the investment being membership, investment being travel costs, etc. Since the installation of Parliament and my appointment as President of Parliament, much of the time, in addition to dealing with the budgets and other matters on the agenda of Parliament, I have been visiting, so going out to the different organizations that in one way or another have a relationship with Parliament. I could think of the High Councils of State. I can think of the different justice organizations and the foundations, those who receive funding from government, the NRPB, the TWO, the SNDF, and many, many different organizations, the Social Economic Council, to have a feel from these organizations in a more informal setting as President of Parliament, to be able to take along, even in the back of my mind, some of the issues mentioned by these organizations. I will also be visiting the French side authorities, and also they are talking to what role can Parliament play with respect to the areas of these different organizations. And it is remarkable how much additional information one is able to get in these type of visits, in these types of settings. So that is something else that I have kept myself very busy with, in addition to the parliamentary agenda, these visits to the different organizations rather than having them come to Parliament. And I continue to do so, and also include some other organizations, so that when I speak to Parliament and when I speak in Parliament, I would do so with all of the necessary information that these organizations don't often get a chance to share, and share in an informal setting. In speaking about these visits, of course, to the Social Economic Council, for example, a pressing matter there is that we get this matter regarding the board, which is currently not in place for the social economic council, that board be put in place as soon as possible. Legislation that, in my opinion, should be vetted by the SER cannot be done yet because of the lack of the board of the SER. I have understood, and I was pleased to hear that this matter should be resolved shortly, and I look forward to that happening so that the SER can continue to execute its task as one of the advisory bodies of government and of parliament.
For all of life's twists, turns, and defining moments, RBC is a blend for all of you. SXM, your social and health insurance. SXM, your social and health insurance.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah, your social and health insurances.
With respect to what's happening internationally and how it is USM can respond, the complement of our staff is rather interesting, faculty and staff, and I'll take this opportunity to plug in as well. To echo what Antonio did indicate, that we do need to have a healthy complement of full-time faculty. If indeed we are a university that is poised to continue to respond to the human development needs of the country, it means therefore we must have in our engineering room the persons who are dedicated full-time to that cause. In that regard, therefore, let me say that I'm very impressed with the level of partnership we've had with civil society organizations, government, in the recently held lectures that we've had to commemorate our 35th anniversary. It is evident how much goodwill there is towards the University of St. Martin, both by way of attendance, but commentary before and after. And with every activity that we host at USM, in the immediate aftermath, there's even more interest that we can see a mushrooming. We can see that USM is not locked off in the backwaters of St. Martin. No, it is central to the business of nation building. It is central to the economic development of St. Martin. And I would want for us, therefore, to embrace USM as ours, and to partner, continue to partner even more meaningfully with government. Our recent endeavors with respect to embracing the various protocols and benchmarks as they pertain to quality assurance and ensuring that USM is very well positioned to secure accreditation, the ambition being for all of our programs over time. But let us not be too hard on ourselves. And in fact, it was rather fortuitous that shortly after joining USM, that UWI, celebrated, University of the West Indies, celebrated its 75th anniversary. And it was only then I realized, it dawned on me, that UWI is not several hundred years old, and yet it is seen as one of the premier, leading, state-of-the-art tertiary institutions, especially for the islands of the southern Caribbean, the Eastern Caribbean. And so at 35, USM is well on course to emulate that, and even to surpass those that were in the market ahead of USM. The beauty of coming in at this stage is that you'd have learned from the experiences of your predecessors, but you're also well positioned to engage in some, we use the word today, Antonio, and I'll walk back from the funeral service for our late colleague, innovation, forecasting. You know, what's the forecast for USM? And that forecast is not something that we can sit at USM by ourselves and engage in. It has to be a collective endeavor. It has to be with important partners, such as the government, such as civil society, such as the public sector, public and private sector agencies. And therefore, MP LaCruz and other colleagues, in your line of questioning, what I was hearing is that there is an appreciation for USM as our own. What more can be done to embellish that which we already do? And we do have a lot to celebrate 35 years on. But to the extent that we are poised for takeoff in an even more ambitious and meaningful way, the partnership of the government is so very important. Yes, by way of financial input, but also by according to USM that stamp of approval, that recognition that we see you as the premier institution of higher learning. We see you, USM, as the preferred choice for our citizens. And that therefore speaks to how mechanically we manage the scholarship, bursary, study finance. It means too how we embrace opportunities for internship and apprenticeship. It means, too, the role that the government sees for USM in lifelong learning and upskilling and retooling of employees. It means all of these things. So it's not limited to giving us a healthy purse, and that's always very welcome, let me say that, but also the level of moral and material engagement will send a very strong signal to citizens that USM is indeed the preferred educational option for St. Martiners who desire a tertiary education offering. And yes, the ambition is over time to attract students outside of St. Martin and the wider Caribbean as well. I thank you for listening.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah. Your social health insurances. For all all of life's twists, turns, and defining moments. RBC is open for all of you.
It's sometime after 3 Saturday afternoon, and the police presence is high in Greenvale, St. Catherine. This after a man was fatally shot in an alleged confrontation with the lawmen on Saturday. Sources say the deceased man is St. Joseph Campbell, otherwise called Chopes, a reputed gang leader who operated in an area known as Shelter Rock. The details of the incident are still not clear at this time, but as you can see behind me, the security forces are still on location and they're combing the scene, they're searching for clues, and they're carrying out their necessary checks. This incident comes hours after 44-year-old Sheldon Walters, otherwise called Termite of Dover District, Kingston, was killed in an alleged confrontation with the police. Walters, who is said to be a member of the Klansman gang, was implicated in gang activities under the anti-gang legislation, but he was acquitted in March 2021. This image being circulated on social media is said to be a week ago after he tied the knot. It's alleged he's since taken over the reins of the Wandon gang following the conviction of Andre Blackman Bryan. According to reports, the police were carrying out patrols in Top Banks when they came upon a group of men who fired at them. There was an exchange of gunfire and Mr. Walters was fatally wounded. A firearm was recovered. But residents shared a different version.
Man come out to them good and then grip money and wait so. Them kill a man, cold blooded then do it. They're too wicked. Police must say, who that run? And just start fire, be a shot, non-stop.
Angry residents have since mounted several fiery roadblocks in Top Banks, Marchpen Road and other sections of the Old Capitol to protest against the fatal shooting, and the tension has been high. Now, on a typical Saturday afternoon, this section of Spanish Town would be buzzing with activities. Today, it's quite the opposite. As the tension rises in the area, people who are moving along this space are merely trying to get home. There are buses lined just behind me, but there are no passengers. The people we spoke with insist fear is growing in the area. Commerce was also significantly impacted. Business owners and operators shuttered their establishments for fear of being caught in the crossfire. Some did so from as early as 11 Saturday morning. A cook shop operator says she's had to stand the loss associated with the early closure.
So what are we going to do with our food? In a situation like this, we already prepare from morning.
So what's happening now is representatives from the National Solid Waste Management team are conducting a cleanup of this area under the watchful eyes of the police. Now the area remains tense at this time and the police are standing their ground, but the residents in the community are still upset.
We had a meeting here this evening of the membership of the Democratic Labour Party. The long and short of the story is that I moved 2 resolutions this afternoon here at this meeting. One was to a motion of confidence in Dr. Ronnie Yearwood. It said, whereas the Democratic Labour Party members elected Dr. Ronnie Yearwood as president for the first time in May 2022 and re-elected him in August 2023. And whereas since his election to the post of president, he has transformed the party for its betterment and improvements. And whereas with this steady hand of administration, the party is now becoming a viable alternative to the Barbados Labour Party administration. And whereas if he's allowed to continue his stewardship as president without encumbrances and distractions, the party can form the next government whenever the elections are called. Be it resolved that the majority of the membership of our party has unreserved confidence in Dr. Ronnie Yearwood's leadership ability, his guidance, superintendence and scholarship, and be it further resolved that Dr. Ronnie Yearwood be given the full support to manage the party's affairs as much as the constitution of the DLP allows, unhindered, unmolested and unfettered. I moved a second motion this time of no confidence in the political leader of this party, Ralph Anthony Thorne. And it says, whereas the Democratic Labour Party admitted Ralph Thorne to the membership of our party on the 20th of February 2024, becoming the political leader, and whereas since his admission to this party, the institution has experienced untold rancor, turmoil, contention and confusion, and whereas he in a public forum in a meeting at St. Christopher Primary School on Sunday the 14th of April 2024, publicly endorsed the actions of a member of the Democratic Labour Party who brought the party into public ridicule, disgrace and opprobrium over a matter that was found to be invalid on its own merit and structure, and called for the removal of the entire Executive Council. And whereas this political organisation was on an upward trajectory and beginning to appeal to the electorate after the 2018 defeat at the polls, be it resolved that his presence in this party can no longer be tolerated by the vast majority of members, and that a member of at the meeting of the members of the standing committee responsible for grievance be convened to discuss this motion of no confidence and rule on the content of the motion. I, the undersigned, no longer have any confidence in Ralph Thorne to be the political leader because he no longer serves the best interests of our great party, and call for the revocation of his membership and the immediate expulsion from the party. Yes.
So, Steve, what was the outcome of that resolution?
Well, this resolution now goes before the Executive Council for unsending to the Grievance Committee.
How long is that process?
Well, it is. I can't really put a timetable on it, but the process will start. Yes.
Some would say that without Ralph Thorne, the deeds will be out of the seat. You truly believe that you can be a viable contender for government without someone in yes.
Look, this party existed and was making good way for the last 6 years, and we did not have a political leader. This party can exist without a political leader, but it certainly cannot exist without a president or, I dare say, a general secretary. These are constitutional positions within the Democratic Labour Party. We existed for 6 years without a political leader, and we were making good way. So the question of a political leader is not here nor there. We could have gone into the next general election, of course, selecting a leader to take us there, and and I tell you that it could very well have been Dr. Ronnie Yearwood leading us in the next general election. I will not stand idly by and allow Mr. Ralph Anthony Thorne to continue to drag our party down. His presence here has brought nothing positive to this party. All it has brought to this party is confusion, destruction, turmoil and conflict.
Well, based on today's meeting, and in the past we talked about unity within the party, and it seems like we're a bit divided even among the members. So what's the stance right now on standings of the party itself?
Look, without question, before Ralph Thorne came to this party, we had divisions. There's no question about it. But since Ralph Thorne came to this party, the divisions are now so wide, it is no longer just a division, it is a chasm. And those divisions are not going to come together anytime soon. Anytime soon. The divisions are deep, and they have been deepened because of Ralph Thorne's presence to this party. In this party, Ralph Thorne could have stayed within the ranks of the Barbados Labour Party. He brought trouble to this party. Trouble. No end of trouble. We were doing quite well under President Ronnie's leadership. Ralph Thorne could have stayed where he was, and I'm begging him to let my people go.